Radha Gauri Ora Shama Rasiya Je Jodi Mere Man Basiya O Radha Gauri Radha Gauri Radha Gauri Radha Gauri O Radha Gauri Ora Shama Rasiya Ye Jodi Mere Man Basiya.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your life as a monk. What does your day look like?
My normal day?
When you're practicing art, you sometimes get into a zone, which is a higher transcendental state of some kind. Is there a way to produce it on demand?
No.
Is there a way to make it more likely to happen more often?
Yes.
How do you do that?
Okay, let's say one of the most important things, to understand the limitations of the mind. And life shows you in a hard way, and the Guru shows also in a hard way, but shorter and sweeter.
Give me an example of that.
2008, before I met Guruji.
You had a daughter as well.
Yes, she passed away when she was 6 months old.
Okay.
Yes.
And I heard the sad story of her passing. Would you want to talk about that a little bit?
No problem.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been now 12 years ago.
Why are we looking to harm ourselves all the time? Or in what way?
It's because we have different levels of consciousness. In the strongest one...
What is God? Is God a person? Is God a feeling? Is God a thought?
If there is something that he is not, then he's not God.
Your advice for people who are trying to excel in this life but are struggling with their own mind.
When you are way too happy, still observe your mind. When you are sad and depressed, observe your mind. You are not that mind. You can fix almost all your life problems by controlling your mind. The best way to deepen this is to...
Welcome back to the Find Your Ultra podcast. I'm super excited for you to hear this episode because this is a conversation with Rishi Aaradhakananda. Rishi Aaradhaka is associated with Bhakti Marga. You've already heard a couple of episodes about Bhakti Marga. One was with Swami Tulsidas and the last one with Gurudev himself. Rishi Aaradhaka is actually a disciple of Sri Paramhansa Vishwananda, who you've met in the previous episode. We had a golden opportunity of like an 8-minute conversation with him. This episode was also recorded at the same time. Rishi Aaradhaka was there during the holy function as we were all there. And he was very kind, very simple, and extremely kind and beautiful person. So he's a Rishi, he's taken sannyas. And in this conversation, we got to learn a lot about his early childhood and some of the influences in his life. What role, how did spirituality happen to him? How did he decide to take this path? And a couple of really moving incidents from his life that he's spoken about so bravely. And, I'm very thankful for him for sharing all of that with us. So this is a peek into the life of a monk, and a wonderful monk at that, a beautiful person. Oh, and I haven't spoken about the most important thing about him, at least from my point of view, because that's how we all got to know of him. He's a musician. And he creates amazing music. We first got introduced to Bhakti Marga through his bhajans, his music. We were tripping on it for a while. We looked up the organization and we got in touch with them. And we arrived at this moment where we got the opportunity to record a podcast with him. So beautiful. Like, look him up on YouTube and all of the platforms. All his bhajans are there and they've got millions, tens of millions, so perhaps hundreds of millions of views. You will love his music. Without further ado, here's Rishi Aaradhakananda and me in the Find Your Ultra podcast, episode 89, I believe. Indulge away. So these questions that bother all of us, which is why I speak with individuals like you. Thank you so much for making time. I have to tell you how we got introduced to you and Bhakti Marga. It was through a YouTube video that my daughter and my wife were watching. They came across the video. It was a bhajan, Radha Raman. So they had listened to it like 3-4 times, and I entered the room and they're like, "You've got to listen to this." Oh, nice. So they made me sit down and watch it. And then we discovered more of your music and then more about the Bhakti Marga organization. And we keep coming to Vrindavan often, and we realized that there's an ashram here, and that's how we got introduced to the whole Bhakti Marga. So honored, privileged, and thankful for your time here. Thank you for making time.
I'm very happy to be here. Mataji Amaravati is behind the cameras here. Just coincidentally, she was the one who mixed, who made the audio mix of Audio Radhaman Giridhari.
Oh, wow.
Example.
Okay.
And when we did all of that, our aim was to share God's name, to share the glory of Gurudeva, to make people know about Bhakti Marga and to make people chant God's name.
Yeah.
And to see how the fruits of that work slowly but constant come.
Yeah.
And we offer everything back at Guruji's feet, at Krishna's feet. Yeah.
Amazing. It always fascinates me, and I spoke with Swami Tulsidas as well on my podcast that I did with him. It always fascinates me, people who come from a completely different culture. And so you've... This is a question I wanted to ask Guruji if I could have a podcast with him. Is about...
It's gonna come. Guruji likes to play difficult.
Yeah. Let's hope there's something at play. And yeah, the time comes. Let's hope. But he's done something that I find all of you who come from different cultures in Vrindavan, and I see so much love in the chanting and in the singing that you all do. We've been here for 3-4 days, like 3 days around Holi, and now all of today, and we are absolutely blown away by the amount of love that we feel, that these guys who are chanting and singing, they're in bliss. Like, even if they're like doing a chore, like picking up something from here to there, they're chanting constantly and with most of the times with a smile on the face. But your journey, I wanted to dive into a little bit. You were born in Brazil. And then you studied music in Germany.
I started in Brazil for 3.5 years, and then I gave up that course and I started a new course in Germany. Yeah.
Okay.
But I was always music, yes.
Right. And that's because you were born in a family that family musicians?
That for sure influenced, but since I was 11 years old, I already knew music was my path.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were listening around musicians all the time?
Not only, actually. All my close friends were not musicians, even though in Brazil it's pretty normal to make music. So we had some little rock band as teenagers and things like this. My parents, they were musicians, but they didn't force me and my sister at all to make music. It was very natural. They offered, I did some violin, I did some piano, and then I took the guitar. When I played guitar, I was 11, and there was a feeling of completion. There was a feeling of I could only do that, and I'm fine, and when this feeling came, I understood. In my head, it was when I was 13, I was already playing in bands. When I was 14, I had already guitar students. And I remember a bit earlier than maybe 11, 12, I told my mom, Mom, when I grow up, I want to be either a musician or a monk.
Yeah, lovely. And now you're both.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And in one of your podcasts, you mentioned, because music I understand now, but what about spirituality? How did that happen?
So my family was always somehow spiritual. Let's say the yogic path or the bhakti path of India was not very obvious, but was also always there. So in my circle in Brazil, everybody was doing something, and there was a Krishnamurti book in my home, I could just read satsangs from him and things
Did you
like
do Krishnamurti?
This. Yeah. Paramahansa Yogananda came very early in my life and totally changed my life. Even though Brazil is the biggest Catholic country in the world, I was never baptized.
Okay.
My father he became also Guruji's Bhakt, but my father was Catholic and my mom was herself never baptized. Because my grandmother was actually a leftist atheist.
Oh.
Like communist. Proper one, yeah? Even traveling to Cuba every year and stuff like this. Yeah. So my parents decided that when I'm 18, I can decide what religion I want to follow. So that was their stance. When I was 15, 16, my auntie, she used to do seva in the Yogananda center in my city. Because Brazil, you find everything. You find in my city, there's a big center of Yogananda, of SRF, of Shri Shri, Art of Living, ISKCON. Everything is there.
Yeah.
And Ananda Marga, they're all very present. Apart from the traditional Christianism and traditional Afro religion, there's Afro-Brazilian religion also, it's very present there.
I see.
So I was not officially doing anything, but studying a lot and experiencing many different things. Also, my family practiced a lot of Spiritism. Have you heard about it?
No.
Spiritism, it comes from Allan Kardec. It's a French medium, like a sensitive guy. He used to see spirits and talk to spirits. So he created something that he calls a science, not a religion, where by the communication he has with spirits, he describes what is the afterlife, what is God, what is the function, why we reincarnate. Reincarnation is obvious for them. And in their heart, they are Christians, but they study life according to that connection they have, to that message they get from people who are on the other side, let's say like this. And in my family, there was a lot of spiritist meetings.
So when they,
even in my home.
So when you say they could talk to spirits, it was only the spirits of people who are dead.
Yeah. Some people sometimes come and say, oh, I talked, some master came. And you never know who is lying, who is not. But you can see when it's real, sometimes it's very obvious. You feel something, the voice changes, the mannerisms change completely.
Okay.
And sometimes they come and with some higher being or whatever. It's.
But you were exposed to that early in your life.
Very early. But I never felt as being my path. But I always saw that also as some sort of science also, because it was obvious there to see and experience.
Yeah.
So you could not deny it. When I was 15 to 16, my auntie, she used to do seva at Self-Realization Fellowship and Seichonoye, which is a Japanese religion. So she practiced Indian and Japanese spirituality in Brazil. It's craziness. Eh? And then she gave me the autobiography of a yogi. And then I read this book and I was totally mind blown. And then my life changed. I remember when I got the book in my hand, I started to cry already. Just by seeing Yogananda's picture. And I took him as my guru from that time on. Yeah. And then was my life before this book and after this book. And I became a hardcore Yogananda devotee, practicing Kriya Yoga until I met Guruji. So very often, Indians write me online, when did you convert to Hinduism, to Sanatana Dharma? And then I tell them, look, Sanatana Dharma is the eternal religion. Whoever is born on planet Earth is naturally born into Sanatana Dharma. Is the natural religion of every soul, in my opinion. My first initiation, my first baptism, or my first diksha in this life, was Kriya Yoga. So I never converted. I never converted into Hinduism. It was my first choice, naturally. The first choice of the soul.
And Kriya Yoga you learned from Yogananda ji's teachings.
Yes.
Okay. And then when you got introduced to Guruji, you learned Atma
Kriya Yoga. Yeah. It was, I had my months of process because, of course, it's not easy.
Yeah.
In my soul, I had already, it's like I gave myself already to my guru, even though my guru is not incarnated. And then Guruji appears in my life. So I had a period of fighting my thoughts and understanding that this was the wish. Yeah. Of Gurudev and God.
Yeah, amazing. Let's backtrack a little bit. Talk to me more about the process when you got the book. What was this spiritual inclination before even you got the book? Yeah. Like a teenager could be doing many things.
Yeah.
Right?
And I was doing many things.
Yeah.
And the book changed that.
Okay. The book really changed that. So book was the...
I was always in a spiritual search. I was always having like conversations with God. I remember in my notebooks in the school, I would write like concepts of God. I was like concepts of creation, like, I don't know, like theology, little ideas. Oh, there is the space, there is this planet Earth. I was playing with that my whole life, actually. Yeah. And there was a time I became a very strong rocker, like a heavy metal guy. Yeah. And this time I tried to deny all of that, but I was actually searching for the same, but in the opposite direction.
Okay.
I was always searching for spirituality. And eventually I started reading different things until I got to this book and tried to meditate by myself and trying to have a connection with nature, things like this.
Yeah.
You know?
Tell me about the sort of things you were reading. What before?
Yeah. For example, Paulo Coelho is a Brazilian writer. Yeah. I remember when I was very young, he was very good influence on me. Another esoteric Brazilian guy called Trigueirinho. He's talking to aliens and stuff like this.
Okay.
Bhagavad Gita's from the corner shop without commentary, which you don't get so deep. Bhagavad Gita, you need a proper commentary from a proper guru.
Yeah.
Like some verses will inspire you, but you don't really go deep if you don't have somebody explaining to you and breaking down how amazing that scripture is.
And it takes time, and it's a process, and it takes time. Yes. And in fact, today itself, I read somewhere, they said that the path is not linear, the path is circular, and you go back many times and you realize deeper meanings of the things that you felt that you understand in the past.
It's not circular, I would say it's a spiral. You go to the same point, but higher.
Spiral, absolutely. Actually, I think spiral is the word. Yeah. So you were reading all of these, and then you came across this book. That sort of, but then the decision to renunciate and become a monk. Okay. Is a monk and a rishi the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, in Bhakti Marga, there's 3 ways of being monk. You're brahmachari, Rishi, or Swami. All those three are monks.
Is there a hierarchy?
In that order, yes.
Okay.
Brahmachari, Rishi, Swami.
Okay. And what does one have to do to graduate?
To graduate. If you want to become a brahmachari, you have to live like a brahmachari for 1 year, apply, talk to one Swami. The Swami has to approve you, talk to you, check you, and then you write a test, a knowledge test.
Oh.
You have to pass this test.
Wow.
And then Guruji has to look at your picture, and then he'll close his eyes a little bit, and then he's going to say yes or no, this person should be initiated.
Okay.
That's about being brahmachari. From that point onwards, there's no application form.
Sure.
Since Guruji is now on planet Earth, Guruji is the one who decides.
Okay.
So the moment he thinks somebody is becoming Rishi or Swami, he goes and makes this person Rishi or Swami. And by the way, the yagna that's happening right now there, you cannot see in the camera, is for initiating one Rishika and one Swamini.
Wow.
Right now.
Wow. Okay.
It's actually a rare event.
Okay. It doesn't happen very often?
Not very often at all. No, no.
So when you decided to become a monk, there must have been many doubts, and you know,
I'm thinking if there were many doubts.
Probably no, you didn't have too many doubts.
I didn't have many doubts.
Okay,
I had weaknesses, but not doubts.
Okay,
I was convinced that this is the best path for me, because for me it's like, if I meet my Sadguru, if I meet somebody like him in life, I don't want to waste time. I don't want to share this time with anything else. Because imagine if I read the autobiography of a yogi and I think, oh, how amazing would it be to be with Yogananda in that time. Now imagine you had the chance to be with Yogananda in that time, and then you said, Yogananda ji, I like you so much, I love you so much, but I want to be 70% time with my family, and then I come to see you a little bit. After Guru passes away, what happens?
Yeah.
Deep regret.
Yeah.
And I knew in my heart, I don't want to go down this path.
Right.
So that was, for me, was clear. But many things happened in my life until this moment came, and it was all right. Because the moment I met Guruji, I was married.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've also heard of another story that you've told. Yeah. So let's come to that if you're okay talking about it. Yeah. What year did you meet Guruji?
2011.
Okay. Are you still married? You're not. You're brahmachari.
Brahmachari and officially divorced.
And you had a daughter as well.
Yes, she passed away when she was 6 months old.
Okay.
Yes.
And I heard the sad story of her passing. Would you want to talk about that a little bit?
No problem.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been now 12 years ago.
12 years?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't imagine the pain of losing your child, whatever age. And was that in any way responsible for keeping you on the path or deepening your practice or anything?
It was definitely a fire test.
Please tell us about what happened.
Okay, I'm going to quickly share the story along with some miracles that Guruji did in the way, because the story is very rich. It's sad and it's hard, but it's also very rich and very enlightening. So I met Guruji shortly after my ex-wife then got pregnant, okay? Everything was perfect. The baby was born in August. Also fine. After some time, in the 5th day or 6th day, 1 week later after the birth, suddenly she's very weak. She's a bit bluish. She's breathing with difficulty. And then we run to a doctor, and the doctor says this is not something for the doctor. You should run to the hospital. We get in the car in the hospital. My parents from Brazil were still with me when this happened. And then we rushed to the hospital. And from the hospital, they tried to find out what she has. They didn't find out so easily. They realized it's better to bring to another hospital. And in that way, from the first hospital to the second hospital, she was in an ambulance. Okay? And in that moment already, she actually passed away. And it was 6th day, I believe. But we didn't know. We got to know later about this. When we reached the university hospital in Mainz, in a city in Germany, later on the next day, the doctor said, you guys are very lucky. Because in the trip in the ambulance, your daughter, all the organs stopped working. Even the blood stopped flowing. So long she was out. But because of protocol, we have to keep trying to awake her.
Resuscitate
her. And eventually she came back suddenly. And we spent the whole day making tests. and everything is perfect. There's no damage. And then I was calculating the time when this was happening in the ambulance. It was on the same moment, exactly the same moment I was talking to Guruji in the phone. Guruji was traveling in another country. I was talking to Guruji on the phone. I was stressed, crying for Guruji. They found out she has a hypoplastic left heart syndrome, which is the left part of the heart is a bit smaller than usual. So the right part of the heart makes the whole job. So emergency surgery is needed so that one side of the heart make the job of both.
Wow.
Okay? So when she was in the ambulance and they were trying to resuscitate her, at the same time I was talking to Guruji on the phone, and Guruji was so quiet. I was desperate, dying on the phone, and Guruji was just like, "Oh no, she'll be fine. No, she's much better now." I'm like, "How much better now? You just find out she has like a very rare, crazy heart condition." "Oh no, she's much better now." And I could not understand his words. And then later in the night, or the next morning, when the doctor told us she actually came back to life in the ambulance, then I understood.
Yeah.
Like, what was his doing?
I get the chills.
It was his doing, It was not nothing else apart from that. And then she flew with the helicopter to another hospital far away, emergency helicopter. And then what happened? She made like emergency surgery, and everything was supposed to be fine, and everything was fine. But this surgery, it's made in 3 processes. So there's the first surgery, and then the baby grows. Eventually, they have to change this shunt. It's like an artificial piece that is attached to the heart. They have to change this shunt to a organic thing. And then eventually, much later in life, even this is removed, let's say. There's 3 surgeries throughout the first phase of the child.
I see.
So she made the first one. I saw her with a literally open chest. I could see her heart beating in the recovery process of the healing in the Children's Hospital in Bonn in Germany. So, but the recovery that she had was much better than usual. Usually she's supposed to be in the hospital for many months, and they always need the oxygen to make sure that the heart is beating fine, so we knew the oxygen levels. But after some weeks, the doctor said, actually, she's going so good, she can go home. And after 1-2 months, they said she doesn't even need the devices.
Wow.
Just go to the doctor every 2 weeks and stuff like this. So she was having a perfectly normal development. So let's say we had a perfect daughter for 6 months. Of course, there was some extra work to do because of the condition, but the development, the connection, the baby was just normal. Guruji gave her a name, was Sharda. When she was born, Guruji said, because she's Lakshmi, because she's a girl, her name is Sharda, and he manifested a very beautiful necklace with 2 little gems. That's my Lakshmi carries now in my room.
Wow.
Yeah. So this moment passed. When she was 6 months old, beginning of January of 2013, Guruji said, by the way, your daughter was born like this, not because of her, because she's very high soul, she's very advanced soul. But she came like this to clean karma from the mother side of the family.
Wow.
And when she was in the hand of the grandmother from mother side, she just passed. And there was a 1% chance that this artificial shunt closes before the second surgery happens. 1% chance.
And that happened.
And that happened to her. She was just in the. She was for some days a bit more agitated, but there was nothing medically wrong. And then suddenly, I remember I was playing in the birthday of some 80 years old lady in Germany, playing jazz and stuff like this. I was already a devotee, but I had my musician job on the side back then.
Yeah. You were doing 2 gigs at the time, initially, when you...
Yes. And then what's funny enough, there is a bhajan that somebody will rarely see me singing, which is this Gujarat bhajan, Mite Ras Se Barodi. Oh, Mite Ras Se Barodi, Radharani Lage. People, I don't sing this usually because when Shardeb was born, I took her in the hand after the mother left me. I took her in the hand and I sang this bhajan first thing.
Wow.
And when my ex-wife called me and said, you have to come, something's wrong. The ambulance is here. They tried to revive her. Come, and I'm driving on the highway fast. I was on the car singing the same bhajan.
Wow.
So she came and left his body. I was singing the same bhajan. So this bhajan connects me to
Wow.
this whole story.
Yeah.
So now I do feel a little bit emotional, but there's nothing negative and bad. So Guruji basically gave us 6 months of happiness. She actually left her body on the 6th day.
Wow.
And Guruji gave her 6 months. And then he was the one, after she passed, he was the one who hold our hands so tight, like, let's say, it made us okay. Like, I was in the ashram in Germany. My ex-wife moved to the ashram in Vrindavan for some time. And then we both chose to live for Gurudev. We said, we're not going to restart family life now. It makes no sense. We got our share of family life. And then God decided that it's supposed to be short. Now
She's also on a spiritual path now?
She's devotee of Gurudev. Yeah.
Oh.
And she lives now in Tiruvannamalai.
Okay, that's amazing.
And she's a good friend. Very good friend. Yeah, there's no issue there.
It is a deeply sad and moving story as well. What do you make of this? What do you make of, like, didn't that... recently, a friend passed away last year. He was 40. Very different experience. I can't even compare, like, a father's loss to that.
Yeah.
A friend passed, and I found myself in a state of anger for a very long time.
Yeah.
Because he was a good guy, and he was the one who introduced us to spirituality, a little bit of the spirituality that we have in our lives. He was the one who was talking to us always about Bhagavad Gita and all these things. And here he is, just leaves us, and I was just so angry, and I was like, okay, there's no sense in anything. It's all just we're born. Whatever we pay attention to, we become that, and then we die. And so whatever you pay attention to. So that was sort of a belief, and I couldn't process it.
Yeah.
How did you process this heavy experience back then?
Look, that's the dumbness of human mind, you know? Like, we know that everybody's going to die. We know that most of the people are not going to live until old age. We know that children also die, but we cannot be ready that it happens to us. It doesn't deny the existence of Bhagavan and his love. Because what makes us so angry is just our fear. First, the fear of missing, the fear of this love connection to the soul, and the fear of the unknown, what is on the other side. But like, when I hear Guruji so many times saying, like, the act of dying is one of the most beautiful things, Guruji said, when a good person, when a good devotee dies, even much more beautiful than the birth. If you could see what happens there.
Wow.
The light, how it travels, how so many people come to help this moment, like, so many souls, so many entities, so many devas, Dying is a very special thing because we are so attached to the material reality, we just cannot accept. And it's just our idiocy because it's so obvious in our face.
Yeah. It's one thing that's like so obvious.
You cannot open one newspaper and don't be reminded about death.
Yeah.
But still, when it happens to us, we are angry with God. But before, when it happened to the neighbor, we were not angry with God. So this makes no sense, no?
So true. Absolutely.
The most blissful moments of my life and the hardest moments of my life, I had holding Guruji's hands. So I know everything is possible if I have Gurudev. So I'm not afraid of life. That's the good thing. I'm not afraid of life anymore. Before I was afraid. Oh, this and that could happen, and I hope this never happens to me.
Yeah.
Now I'm not really afraid of life anymore.
But when it happened, how did you process it? Did you...
You get a shock, but I'm happy to say that my faith was not shaken. And that base, that knowledge, that spiritual knowledge, and the proximity to Guruji make the hardest moment of my life survivable. And then as time passes, it's okay. There is no magic mantra that make the pain of missing somebody disappear. You have to have the knowledge and the faith. If you study, Bhagavad Gita is about Mahabharata, it's about people dying, Srimad Bhagavatam happened because there was death. He was about to die, and then Sukadeva Goswami was giving him the whole discourse. for 7 days.
Mm.
It's all about that. The knowledge, the right knowledge and time. Because only time can wash out some things. It's time and knowledge. If you have the right spiritual knowledge and if you have time,
Yeah.
everything will be fine.
Yeah. Right. Knowledge and knowledge. I would say
Patience. No?
tools.
Tools.
Yeah.
Don't run away
It's
from the
tools.
pain you are suffering. It's okay. If you want to cry, it's okay. Just give it the time.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your life as a monk. What does your day look like? What do you do? Because I'm actually blown away by the amount of knowledge of course, like obviously you guys are monks and you
We have to study something.
Yeah, you study so much and so please tell me what does your day look like? Like just give us a peek into your day.
Okay, in my normal day, I wake up around 5:30. I wake up my deity. In my room, my Prabhuji that Guruji materialized, and then I go down I wash myself, do my starting mantras of the day, and go down to the temple. I hope I get in the temple 6:15, and then I wake up Mahalakshmi because I'm Pujari of Lakshmi Devi.
Mm-hmm.
In the main altar in Germany, in Sri Nilaya, we have Lakshmi, Narayana, Narasimha, Radhakrishna, and then the Gurus, Ramanuja and Bhavata Babaji.
Nice.
So I serve Mahalakshmi. So I wake up her and I dress her. And then 7 o'clock the curtains open. We have the morning service, do Abhishekam to the saligrams of the temple and everything. By 8:30, the morning service, the morning prayer is finished. And then the people have breakfast. Normally I go to my room, do my Kriya. Or I do my Kriya in the temple and then I go up. And then I have some minutes in my room. And then 9 something, before 10, Seva starts. And then everybody in the ashram has their Seva.
Mm-hmm.
My Seva is connected to devotional music and to organization around those events and about teaching. So I coordinate the music coordinators of all Bhakti Marga countries.
Oh.
We are, I think, more than 60 Bhakti Marga countries, but not all of them have coordinators because some are small. So we have maybe like 55, 57 music coordinators in each country.
Mm-hmm.
And they all have their teaching files. They all talk to me frequently. We have some groups of communication. And so I coordinate those people. I coordinate the music that comes out in the YouTube channels on Spotify and things like this. And
the ones that we trip on. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also the music that happens in the ashram physically. But I also have a team there that helps me a lot, an amazing team of people. But that's basically my seva, is around that. I'm teaching, organizing teachings, coordinating the countries, and recording and coordinating what comes out in Bhakti Marga music, and taking care of the local events.
Yeah. And then what happens towards the end of the day? What is your...
Okay. There's a lunch break between 1 and 2.
And you serve your deity 3 times a day?
I serve. I wake him up, and then I do Abhishekam in the morning. I wake him early, like when I wake up, like with some mantras, some chanting, and I change his water, so I offer new water. That's the first service. And then full Abhishekam around 8 when I go down to the temple. Or if it's a day I don't go to the temple, I do my Abhishekam in the room. And before sleeping, he receives another puja, not Abhishekam, and then I change him to sleeping clothes and take the prasad away. So that's the 3 services I do in a day. You saw that. I don't know where I saw this. One of the podcasts I thought that. No.
So there's a video that you've made on the manifestation of Prabhuji.
Yes.
So I've heard the whole story of how
Prabhu,
that came about.
He came down today for Satyanarayana Katha. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
He was there.
Yes.
So what he's saying is a beautiful story that I had a dream that Guruji came in my room.
Yeah.
And he sat with the back to me and looking at my deity that was manifested by him. And in the dream, Guruji tells me with his back to me, you should serve him 3 times a day. And then I wake up and I feel a bit angry because Guruji was in the ashram and I had this dream. And I think, why he comes to me in the dream? He can just come physically and tell me. And then I went to Guruji and said, Guruji, I had this dream that I have to serve him 3 times a day. Guruji said, yes, he's longing for your service.
Yeah. How beautiful is that? Yeah. Great. And how do you end your day?
So we reach 5 o'clock now. That's official end seva for most of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is Om chanting for those who who are usually going to Om chanting or parikrama time or exercise time or relax time or whoever.
Where do you do parikrama? Parikrama of
around the ashram in Germany.
ashram,
Then we have a parikrama path there.
Okay.
And then 6 o'clock, there's the second service of the day. So if I'm not doing puja, I'm singing in the temple. 7:15, there's satsang in the temple. No, sorry. 7:15, satsang in the temple. And then there is dinner. And then 8 o'clock, final arati. And then we change the deities to sleeping clothes.
Yeah.
And 8:45, Shayan arati.
So that's bedtime.
And then the temple closes. And,
Okay.
and so we are theoretically free by 9 something.
Hmm.
And then sometimes we meet together to study, to sing, to watch something sattvic.
Yeah. Watch something sattvic would mean content.
Content that is fine, yeah.
Okay. So
Guruji sometimes does like to watch movies and stuff. But with him, you can do different things if he wants. Because his presence is already different. But when the devotees are among themselves, we have to help each other to do positive things, for sure.
And when do you make time?
I'm not saying Guruji doesn't do non-positive things.
Of course.
But if sometimes he likes to watch some horror movie and have fun, and we watch with him.
Sure.
But without him, it's weird.
Yeah. And when do you guys make time to read and educate yourself more? Is that a constant process? Or have you been through that rigorous training of 10, 15 years and now you just have to revise?
No, it's a constant process. I'm still far away. I still forget everything so quickly. The study time, the individual study time is this time now, after 9, from 9 to when you want to go to sleep. You have 1-2 hours at least.
Okay.
And there is study groups that devotees do like 5 o'clock after the seva time, from 5 to 6. Like once a week, I have with the other people that speak Portuguese. We meet and we study in Portuguese. Bhagavad Gita, chapter by chapter, study each chapter.
And so I have 2 questions from this. First is, in your day, in your typical day, it is the neurosis of the mind that we're all suffering from. So, because the mind runs from one thing to another, and I'm sure your practice, the kriya and everything, helps you center it. How long is that though?
At least half an hour, but it can be 45 minutes.
Okay. And is that enough? You don't have to do like hours and hours of
Sometimes in the evening before sleep, I do another round.
But do you have days where you're struggling with your mind? I heard Guruji say in one of his videos, stop self-daggering. Like all of us are, being hindrances in our own way and, stopping our own progress in life. So self-daggering is a word that actually stuck with me. And that is the mind telling you different things and you listening to it. Does that happen with you? Or
of course,
does it not?
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
Yeah. And tell me about such days and what do you do on those days?
There's not days. Yeah, these are periods. Sometimes there are periods when we go through some processes.
Mm-hmm.
When I have moments when my mind is weaker, for me the first step is to observe that and then look for good association and read. When I read, I always clean my mind. So I like wash my mind by reading. Okay, but some things still are not purified only by that. That's why to have a living guru is so important, because he comes physically and he press that button. For example, I might have the habit of victimizing myself.
A lot of us do.
Yeah. And when Guruji does something and I do that to myself, instead of him petting you and say, don't be like that, you are so good, he actually presses more and he presses more and he plays with everything around you in a way that only a master can do. And you only get out of that when you want, when you realize I have to change my perspective. And Guruji does it a lot. He intensifies, so you realize your mind is limited and you have to change your mind. Because if he pets you in the first difficulty, you think the problem is the surrounding, is not your mind. And if the mind doesn't go to the limit, we don't accept the limitation of the mind. So that's one of the most important things, to understand the limitations of the mind. And life shows you in a hard way, and the Guru shows also in a hard way, but shorter and sweeter.
Right. give me an example. Give me an example of that, like
of life or of the Guru.
No, a moment when Guruji actually intensified it, like pressed the button with more intensity.
Okay, I was with Guruji. Look, I have a connection with Japan. Okay.
Yeah.
2008, before I met Guruji, I had a music tour in Japan. 2014 or 14, I went with Guruji to Japan.
And you went a week before him.
That was recently.
Oh, that was
another
recently.
trip. I'm
Okay.
talking about trips before. 2015, I was there with him. And we had a nice trip, and the devotees showed also all the touristic places to Guruji. It was Guruji's first time in Japan, so they wanted to show all the nice things. And then 2016, we went there again. There was only 3-4 days, no time at all, 2 cities, quick trip. And then we were going from one city to another, from Osaka to Tokyo, in the train, the bullet train. And then I told the Guruji and the devotees, oh, that's a pity that this time we don't have time to visit that nice place in Tokyo. I expressed it in the train. And we were like, everybody was super happy doing kirtan in the train, singing in the train. No?
Yeah, in Japan.
In Japan.
Wow.
The whole wagon was only ours. We were just like going super loud with mridanga, hamon, everything in the train.
Lovely.
You know, in Tokyo, there is this, I forgot the name of the place now. There is this cross that is so big.
Oh, yeah, Shinjuku Station.
Shinjuku Station, yeah. And then all there's thousands of people in every stop. They're like from 9 or 10 different sizes. They all cross, and it's a crazy part of Tokyo.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people make time-lapse videos of that. Yes.
In there, yeah. So I was like, there's a period cannot go there. That was so cool. You know, I said this. And then the whole joy of the moment stopped because Guruji's face frowned when I said this. And then he looked at me and said, you and your filthy desires. So do you want to fulfill your filthy desire of going and see like stupid things like this? So tomorrow we have the darshan. Tomorrow there was Guruji's darshan in Tokyo. We have more than 1,000 people registered. He said, okay, tomorrow you come for darshan, you play for darshan when I sing, Guruji said. And after that, you have to leave. And you go visit this place, fulfill a filthy desire, and you cannot come back until the darshan is finished. Now imagine, Bhakti Marga Japan paid my flight ticket to serve Guruji. And that was the main event of the trip. And I'm not allowed to serve him. And when he takes you the opportunity of serving, you are destroyed. And I didn't even know how to go there by myself. So I did it. And then I was still like, throughout the night when he told me this, I asked him 3 times, hey Guruji, can you change your mind? No. And then the darshan came. He sang, I remember he sang, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. A very sweet melody. And then he looked at me and did with the finger like this. Just with the finger like this. Go. Then I bowed down and I went. So I have to follow what he said, you know. And then I went in the streets, gathering information. I had to change train 3 times, metro, and took almost 1 hour to get there. And then I saw the place for 2 minutes and started the way back. And then I came back, and the darshan was close to the end, but not finished yet, like after 3 hours or something altogether, maybe. Terrible feeling inside the whole time. And then I entered the darshan. Guruji said, only enter after it's finished. But I said, okay, I did everything correctly until now. Now I'm going to show that there were some musicians that were waiting for me there in Japan, you know, like to play duos with me, stuff like that. So I just came in, I said, I'm going to be a bit naughty now and come to serve, even though he said not to serve. And I came and I supported the local musicians and I played with them and sang one bhajan. Guruji looked at me and said, so you really left, huh? You really went? I said, yeah, you told me 4 times to go.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, it was a test and you missed it. So there was no way to make this test right.
Yeah.
There was no way. Because if I don't do what he said 4 times, for sure it would be a disaster. But by leaving the service, I also missed the test. So that's when he intensifies and that's when you value service to the Guru and to the spiritual Sangha. Because the moment it's taken out, the emptiness that is inside of you, so in the end of this trip, he gave me a very beautiful lesson actually. 1 or 2 days later, there was this, no, actually the same night. After this event, Guruji was invited for a dinner with the devotees, and the next day we'll be going away. So in that dinner, Guruji said to the devotees, I'm not going to say thank you. Because if I say thank you, it's like I'm paying you back. And then I take some of the punya that you got. And the service that you all did was amazing. So I want you all to keep all the punya. So I'm not going to say thank you, but it was great service. That's what he told to the Japanese devotees. And then when we are going out of this place and we are entering the little van that is taking our people to the hotel, he gives me a card. And I'm like, the whole trip for me was disastrous. I was like being beaten up the whole time. 2016 was it? And I was like, I have to improve in everything, otherwise I can give up my life. That was my mindset at the moment. I was really like victimizing myself.
Sure.
And then he gave me this card with some Japanese letters. And he asked me, do you know what's written there? I said, no. He says, arigato. I said, Guruji, arigato is thank you.
Thank you. In Japanese.
You just told everybody that you should not say thank you, that you take all the punya.
Yeah.
And now you tell me thank you.
Yeah.
And so you are taking all the punya for me now after beating me the whole day. And then I look very miserable, like, why are you doing this to me, Gurudeva? And then he looks at me and said, you know, the real devotee don't expect even the punya.
Wow.
From the service.
Wow.
How you should be, you should not expect even the punya. And then I understand, like, I could put myself more down, but I understood that was the flipping moment, the click moment. Like the expectation that I'm thinking I'm the worst of all. Because in some aspects we are.
Yeah.
But what he expects from me practically is to be a saint. I'm thinking I'm so dumb I cannot do anything. But what he expects from me is to be a saint. Because only a saint has no expectation, even from the spiritual merits of their actions. Only saints.
Beautiful.
Like Ramanujacharya, you know, are ready to give everything just to save the people. He said he gave his mantra away, his secret mantra, like he was open to be cursed forever by his Sadguru by giving the mantra freely away, Om Namo Narayanaya, like Ramanujacharya. He had no attachment to himself going to Vaikuntha. Only saints can have this level of detachment, you know. So there was a moment that it flipped. He said, he is very strict because there is something high that we can achieve. And without the sharpness of the Guru, without him like making us sharp, we don't go there. We don't get there. Without him being strict with us, we get comfortable on the way the whole time. It's 2 steps and then we need to sleep again. 2 steps and he sleeps again. But when you are with him, he pushes you
wow.
to get there.
Do you identify more with more as a saint or a musician?
Definitely not a saint yet. But I hope to get there because his blessings are for sure there. I mean, I do identify myself as a musician because of my background, study background and my technical background. But I don't see myself anymore, or I don't practice seeing myself anymore as a musician, because music is just the sound. Yeah. But what we do is to put the holy name in the sound. So nowadays I'm a monk and spiritual music, devotional music, kirtan, bhajan, is part of my spiritual practice. So whatever I learn music-wise helps me in that service, in that seva. Yeah. But I don't practice seeing myself as a musician. I'm a monk, and music is part of my seva.
Music is part of your seva?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and when you're playing, because it's an art form, and when you're practicing art, you sometimes get into a zone, which is a higher transcendental state of some kind. And all artists can get into that zone. Do you
do they? I don't know if all artists can get into that zone. There are different zones.
Yeah,
there are different highs.
Different highs, for sure. Yeah, I also don't know whether everybody can get into that state. But most have tasted like glimpses of that, and which is why people start longing for that state, where the flow state, as people say, whether that's a writer or an artist or a singer. And sometimes you're in the flow, and sometimes you're not, and then you keep longing for that state, and you don't get it. The more desperate you become, the further away it goes. Yeah, harder it gets. What are your thoughts on that? Do you experience that often, or do you chase it, or do you not chase it at all?
I love this concept, this flow concept. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was young, I practiced a lot of martial arts. And martial arts was also something, you know? When you get into that flow, nobody can beat you. Yeah. You see everything in slow motion.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you are in that flow. Music's the same. When you are doing kirtan, when you really practice, if you allow yourself to go there, and if you have practice enough to be able to hold this, you can get into a moment where it flows and everything becomes amazing. And then your mind goes down and you just like observe your mind and you make the right choices, but everything is going by itself. Yeah. You just make some little choices to maintain the vibe, to maintain the mood. You know, that's the magical moment. That's the moments that we don't forget. And that's the moments that you cannot predict. Yeah. Experience and deepness can make you get there more often, but you cannot predict. You cannot rehearse that.
Yeah, you
Yes.
cannot like produce it on demand.
No.
Or is there a way to produce it on demand?
No.
Is there a way to make it more likely to happen more often?
Yes.
How do you do that?
When it's real, sincere kirtan, when there's no attachment, when you don't expect it to happen, but you just do it purely. Of course, if other musicians that are not kirtaniya, they're not bhajans, they're not doing it spiritually,
Yeah,
they can also get to something similar. I believe it's still different.
yeah.
Okay, let's say Johann Sebastian Bach, okay? I don't know if you guys studied his life. The most famous classical composer
Mm-hmm.
from Baroque time, 16th century. No, sorry. Yeah, 16th century to 17th century. He was not a yogi, but his music was dedicated to God. And everybody talks about this transcendental aspect of his music. But other people in more modern times, it's rare to find artists like this. You find some crazy people that might be maybe like almost autists in their relationship to music, and they can have similar spaces. I can say one jazz artist called Keith Jarrett, he can do that, or John Coltrane. But in the mainstream music, that state doesn't exist without drugs.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist without drugs.
Mm.
And we don't need drugs because the holy name make us go much higher than that, much further than that. It's totally different experience,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I think there is different categories. And the more sincere and pure person, devotee you are, and then more magic will happen.
Yeah, and I think this can actually apply to everything pretty much. Anything that you're trying to achieve, trying to do. If you let go of the pressure of delivering or pressure of performing or the pressure of the outcome of how it goes,
Yes.
that's when you make way for the creation of pure art.
Yes.
In some sense. Yeah. Wonderful. And the second question that I had,
Are you an artist in like sense?
I'm not.
Okay.
Not at all. I'm just a long distance runner, and that too hobbyist. And I've been out of touch for last couple of years, but that's my game. I've been a long distance runner for 15 years.
Okay.
And I love the sport of ultra running. Like
Yeah.
when I feel when you it's one
It
of
is
the
meditation. Eh?
it is, that's what I was
The
going to
mind
come
stops.
to.
The mind
Absolutely.
stops to a certain level.
That's exactly what I was coming to. That it's one of the ways to get into those deeper states of existence. I feel very shallow in saying using this big word called transcendental, but it does make you feel that way when you're running for hours, like 16, 20, 24 hours, 32 hours. You've been just doing this activity, and you're in immense physical pain. You're experiencing a different world altogether.
Yeah.
So it helps me get to that deep state, and that's what I actually love about this. And I think deep meditations are also, similar experiences. Like if you've, I don't know if you've experienced or heard about Vipassana meditation. I'm sure you have,
Yes.
right? So yeah, if you
I know people who did it. A lot.
Yeah, if you do 12 hours of that.
Yeah, you did.
I've done it, Vipassana once.
For sure, not easy.
10-day course. Definitely not easy, for sure. That was the first time actually I came face to face with facing my own mind, and how much of a monkey mind we all have.
Yeah, you get to know your mind in those moments. Huh?
Yeah.
Connected to all of that, Guruji said something very interesting recently to the pilgrimage group.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about connecting with God, not only outside, but also in the Atma level. No?
Yeah.
And then he was saying, if you cannot sit and meditate, at least do something. Usually he says, take 5 minutes, take 2 minutes and sit and just feel the presence of God. Just be with Him. Only that. Just sit and be with Him.
Yeah.
Just give this time to be with Him and feel that presence. But on this day, some days ago, he said it in a different way. He said, walk a bit, feel tired, and then sit and feel the presence of God. So, because when your body is tired, your mind stops. Like how fast the mind is running also stops a lot.
Yeah.
And then you can much easier feel the presence of the spiritual entities.
Yeah.
When Guruji manifested my Prabhuji was after a long yagya. Like we did like 12 hours Lakshmi Yagna, singing, chanting non-stop. And after the event finished, I could not even think. So tired I was.
Yeah.
And that's the moment he called me and manifested the date.
Yeah.
I remember very well that my mind could not even think how tired I was.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, there's something about exhaustion. I think it does it does take us into a better state.
Yes.
Yeah. The other question I had about was about your daily routine that you talked about. What out of that do you think are some of the lessons that can be applied to a regular person's life as well?
The most important thing is that what Bhagavad Gita wants to teach us in practice is that karma yoga is easier to practice than dhyana yoga. And above all, bhakti yoga is even easier and more effective than karma yoga.
Oh.
Okay? And then, after all of that, even bhakti can go away when you have sharanagati. So that's how step by step Krishna guides us in the Gita. No? The path of meditation is very difficult, even for yogis. And it's not the path for everyone. And because a householder or somebody who lives a normal life cannot meditate for hours or do japa for hours or do kirtan for hours, spirituality is not outside of their lives. Karma yoga means you practice. It's not only karma. Karma yoga is to do the thing, for the sake of God. But karma sannyas yoga actually is when is after jnana yoga. Dhyana yoga is karma sannyas yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. Is when you do, but your mind is not attached to what you do. Your mind is attached to Bhagavan. So that's the main teaching of the Gita, in my opinion. It's not what you do. It's about where is your mind while you are doing it. You can say it's how you do, but it's not even how you do. It's like whatever you are doing, your mind has to be on God. To a certain extent, even if it's a work that's very difficult, the reason of your doing it is because you see this as a service for God in some way. And if you apply this to everything in your life transforms.
Service to God or service to people as well?
Yeah, why? Because God lives in this universe, in this creation, in many forms. In one of the form is Antaryami. If you make a person happy, you make God happy. If you serve somebody, you serve Bhagavan. You have to see God in the person. If you don't see God in your neighbors, in the people around you, you're not going to see Him anywhere. You can fake that you see Him in the temple. You can go in front of Banka Bihari and cry Banka Bihari, but then you beat the person on your side. No, you're not seeing Banka Bihari as He is.
So true.
So if you have to see God in the hearts, and by doing that, whatever you are doing, you are able to do it for God. Doesn't matter. So it's not what you do. You can be somebody in the military, you can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be a musician, you can be an athlete, but you can keep your mind at the lotus feet of Sri Hari and everything will be all right. And that's how you don't produce negative karma actually, by whatever you do, if your mind is there. But this is a practice.
It's a practice.
It is a practice. It's a practice of thinking of God.
Yeah.
And keeping Him with you in your activities.
Yeah.
So that's the only way, because that's how you take the ashram to your daily life. And that's why, because many people come to the ashram and say, oh, actually, it's not so different from my daily life. I just go to the temple in the morning, the evening, the rest I do a bunch of stuff that is actually work. Yeah. No, because the consciousness is 100% different. You're not doing anything for yourself. Everything you do is seva. You don't expect any payment from what you do. You do out of love. And this transforms the whole thing. And if you manage to take some of this mentality into your life outside, you need your payment to survival. But this expectation is not going to make you an ignorant, aggressive person. Understand? That's why Guruji often recommends to doctors, I saw it a couple of times, when people say, oh, Guruji, I'm a doctor, what do you want me to do? He says, take one day and work for free for people who need. I saw him say this many times. Take one day and work for free for people who need. So you learn to do service out of love and without expectation. If you don't learn this, you become just an egoistic thing, not even a human being.
Yeah. How has your own relationship with yourself changed by being on Bhakti Marga?
My own relationship with myself?
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer this question.
Because do you?
I'm discovering what is myself.
Yeah.
I never saw the self yet, the Atma.
Yeah. Whatever the chatter of the mind was earlier, has that quietened? Has the dialogue become better? Or have you made peace with the demons that are there? How has that evolved?
Okay, even though I had my teenage difficult moments, as I told you, in general, I have to say I'm not like the most complicated person in that
Mhm.
sense. Apart from some depression in the 13, 14 years old era time. So it's a bit difficult for me to answer that because I don't feel I was over dramatic in this life. I had most of my life the tendency to be a happy person
Mhm.
and to be okay with the things that I do. But one thing that changed a lot with Guruji and with the spiritual experiences that I had with Guruji
Mhm.
and Bhakti Marga, of course, and the devotees around, is that I lost some existential fear of like, oh, maybe one day I lose everything. Maybe one day suddenly I have no job and I become a beggar. And maybe one day, there's a car crash and something happens. There was deep inside, there was like a hard stone somewhere inside with a fear like that.
Mm.
And even though, of course, fear still exists, nobody would welcome this happily jumping, something like this in life. But that existential fear that if you think about that, you feel a little bit of panic. This has been washed away. And it's really like my heart has been washed. And this is because I feel God's presence inside of me. And I know that Guruji is there, physically or not.
That's what actually I wanted to hear. Because that's my understanding of the God. Please answer this for me then. What is God? Is God a person? Is God a feeling? Is God a thought?
If there is something that he is not, then he's not God.
Wow. He's everything.
Yeah. How can he be Parabrahman? If you say God cannot be that, then he's not Parabrahman. The Vedas likes to talk on him like this, that Brahman, Parabrahman. And that represents this supreme aspect beyond everything. For me personally, and for the Vaishnavas in general, but it's also my feeling, my experience, and it's also Guruji's teachings. He is a person, but he's not a person in the sense that you understand. So God has a body, but it's a cosmic body. The whole of creation is inside of this cosmic body. Purusha Suktam in the Rig Veda says that everything that exists materially is 3/4 of God. So there is one unknown fourth that is beyond any understanding of the mind. He has a form and he is formless. He obviously is a feeling, but supremely, he does have a cosmic form which is beyond our mental understanding. And that cosmic form is close to the aspect that we call Sriman Narayana. So Shakti, Lakshmi Devi exists inside of him, but he has a cosmic form and the whole universe exists inside of him.
Wow.
That's God.
Great. I mean, for those who are not into bhakti, and I would admit I haven't been either, and I'm just making small steps towards learning more. And the way I relate with God is, or at least we have a temple at home, and my wife is
What are the main deities?
Krishna, and recently Radha as well. So Radha Krishna, and we have Lord Ganesha as well. Ladu Gopal.
Krishna
Yeah.
also.
So sometimes she would ask me to do bhog, and I would do that. And when I do
You
that,
cook extra.
Huh?
You cook the food extra for Krishna ji.
We
Or you just buy, you order.
No. So we I don't think we cook extra, but whatever we cook, we serve him first.
You think of him and then you serve for him.
Correct.
You serve him first.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I do that. And when I do that, I still struggle to imagine God in something else, and I can only imagine God in people around me for some reason, and myself. So when I close my eyes, I look inside and I feel there's Krishna in me. There's Krishna in me. So and maybe the purpose of my life, and please expand on this. Maybe the purpose of my life is to meet that higher self, get as close as possible to that self. Now, my understanding of that self, it could be very, very shallow. It could be maybe becoming the best at whatever my job is, right? Or becoming the best at something in life, like very materialistic. Please tell me a little bit about this. How does one go about processing?
But you jump from the feeling of the bhog to the self and the work.
So when I do the bhog, I close my eyes and I feel.
you doubt yourself, why I'm cooking this food for Krishna?
No, that's not the doubt.
He's gonna eat this, or he doesn't even like that I do this for him? Do you think
the
this?
murti is what I
The Murti in Krishna.
Yeah.
Yes.
And because I imagine Krishna to be a bigger power, formless, and maybe whatever that power is, सब जन्म मुझी से पाते हैं, फिर लौट मुझी में आते हैं, which means like everything's born out of me and everything comes back to me. So it's that energy. And I struggle to see that in images is what I'm saying. That's the only thing I'm saying. Idols, yes.
It's actually very easy and light. It's a very nice conversation. The thing is that God loves to have a relationship with you. You know, why the jiva, the atma, is a part of God. That's clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita. The atma that incarnates in the human body is a part of God, as old as God. And then we go through this whole process of creation, many incarnations. Because through this antaryami, through this jiva that incarnates, God has the chance to experience his own creation. And in that process, we receive the mind step by step. And then the mind becomes so big, and suddenly we think we are so smart, and then we have to rediscover love and relationship to Bhagavan. And that's where Prem awakes. And that's where actually I see, maybe in the Bhakti path, that becomes a thing, where the relationship between God and devotee becomes the sweetest. Because what is the sense of creation if you just merge into Him? The most beautiful thing, which is the relationship that you have, the love that you have towards Bhagavan, vanishes. You don't even feel it anymore. You are not even aware of the self anymore. Guruji says, the Atma, even when the Atma goes back to Narayana, a certain individuality is never lost. So the relationship is like cells in the body. You know? Your body is made of cells, but each cell has its individual identity.
It carries information.
It carries information. It's unique.
Yeah.
It is unique. Each cell.
Yeah.
You know? That's souls and God. In the body, in the cosmic body of God. And then we are rediscovering this relationship in order to go back to that state of bliss, of consciousness unity with Him. It's not a soul unity, it's consciousness unity, when the love becomes so much that only He exists for your consciousness. Understand? In that process, you start to see Him everywhere and to make everything in your life a part of this relationship. And that's where the devotees cannot wait to serve God. If God is everywhere, obviously He's also in the Murti. Yeah?
Yep.
So the moment you do something extra for Him, your mind is concentrated on that form. And that form is a special form. That form can give you a blessing, a higher state of consciousness. The form that God chose to incarnate. When you concentrate on that form, you develop a specific relationship with God. And inside, you change. Ramanujacharya said that God manifests in 5 aspects. One is the cosmic aspect, the vyuhas, okay? Antaryami, Vigraha, Avatar, vyuhas, and Paravasudeva, which is beyond vyuhas. That's the 5. Guruji adds 2, Shastra and Nam. These are the forms that God manifests on earth for us to relate to Him.
Yeah.
One of them is Vigraha, because He accepts that image of Him so that you can have a relationship with Him and you can be with Him. You can go extra to His place. You can serve Him. You can wash Him. What is puja? The 16 steps of puja are just how you receive a special person. Imagine 700 years ago, India. Imagine you are in this beautiful house here with your grandmother and your mother, and you hear the news that a specific saint or the Raja, the king, is coming to your house. How you receive this person. These are the steps of puja. And that's what you do to the deity. The deity arrives, you wash yourself first, then you give asana, then you wash the feet, and then you wash the hand and then you wash the mouth, and then you water to drink, then you shower, you offer shower, and then you can rest a little bit in new clothes. After shower, you give food, and then you give incense, agarbati, and then you give your fragrance, perfume. That's how you receive a very high personality. These are the 16 steps of puja. Every time you're doing this, you are deeply concentrating on the deity and you are developing a personal relationship with that form of God. And every time you do that, you transform yourself inside. And your relationship to God becomes closer. and you think more of God throughout the whole day. And the main aim of everything is just that you think of Him.
Yeah.
And then He's happy. If you read the life of the saints,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes very obvious. I mean, I'm talking about saints that are alive like Guruji, or dumb people like me that have a deity manifested by Guruji, and even the deity talk to me like in dreams and with Guruji and says what he wishes to do, to receive. And it's a statue, it's a metal statue, you know? Like to Namadeva, to Tukaram, Krishna was running around and playing with them and then going back to the Murti, you know? Or asking for food. But it's not that Krishna doesn't want your food. Krishna doesn't want your clothes at all. Krishna or Shiva or Devi, they don't care about that.
Yeah.
But the relationship, the focus that you have with them, the time that you spend with that focus, the time that you spend with them feeling this prem, that is important.
Mm.
And that prem of the relationship is important, not the nothingness of the meditation.
Mm.
That's so boring. Why God would create everything just to spend time having nothingness of meditation?
Mm. Which is why Bhakti Marga, I think, is that the tagline? It just says, just love.
Just love.
It's beautiful. That's what appealed to me the first time I said. I was like, this is nice. Just love. Yeah. Rather than, there are all kinds of misuses of religion and Sanatan, and all these words are also just thrown around for propagating, things that are not good for the society and spreading hate as well. But yeah, they're meant to be doing something beautiful and, pulling us out of, sometimes saving us from our own selves, I guess.
Not sometimes. That's the main job.
All the time.
The main job of the masters is to save us from our own selves.
From our own selves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the main transformation. You cannot change anybody apart from yourself.
Mm-hmm. But why is that? Why would you say save yourself from yourself? Why are we looking to harm ourselves all the time? Or in what way?
It's not that we are looking to harm ourselves. It's because we have different levels of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And the strongest one in that moment right now in our current state is the mind. And the mind is very tightly connected to the ego. But the ego makes you suffer, makes you dumb, makes you egoistic, makes you do things, makes you only want the short-term pleasure. Yeah. What Krishna says again, going back to Bhagavad Gita, there is sattvic happiness and tamasic happiness. What's tamasic happiness? You do something quickly, it's happiness in the beginning, and then afterwards it's very bitter.
Yeah.
But the sattvic one in the beginning is bitter, and then is everlasting sweet.
Yeah.
Because you have some sort of tapasya.
Yeah.
But what our mind wants, our mind doesn't believe in cosmic things.
Yeah.
The mind wants right now. Give me right now what I want. Yeah. Satisfaction, but it's never satisfied. But that's just one little piece of us that we are letting us control ourselves. So what save us from ourselves? It is understanding that we are not the mind. The mind is a tool that you have to control. And when you control this tool, you achieve a much higher state. And that's how you save ourselves from ourselves. By understanding the mind is only a tool. You are not this mind that suffers, that loves. That's a tool.
Lovely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, we're chasing drops of pleasure all the time and confusing that for happiness, which is temporary. But yeah, like you said, if there's tapasya involved, then it's a different happiness altogether. Yeah. And I think science is also coming around to believing the same thing and proving it. Neuroscience is also proving it now, saying that things that we work towards, there's something called cheap dopamine that you just get from not doing anything. Maybe just sitting and scrolling, right? Yeah. You get cheap hits of dopamine.
Like the Instagram dopamine.
Yeah, exactly. Those dopamine hits that you get, they later drop your dopamine below the baseline, right? But if there's something that you've worked to achieve, now that spike comes down slowly and it does not go below the baseline. Yes. So I believe, if there's tapasya involved, there's greater fruits.
That's it.
Yeah. Lovely. Let's just conclude with your advice for people who are trying to excel in this life, but are struggling with their own mind.
I'm talking to people of the whole world. I'm talking to people in India.
You're talking to the people of the whole world.
Okay.
Do you have specific advice for Indians?
Yes.
Please do that. Like, let's do both then.
First of all, Indians should disconnect Sanatana Dharma from politics and understand that
Love that.
you are born into the most beautiful culture. The only culture in the world that can give you God realization, and that can give you darshan of Bhagavan. It's beyond religion, it's beyond science, it's everything in one, you know? It's the most complete, beautiful thing ever.
Yeah.
And like there's, and it's constantly evolving because it's allowed to evolve. It's allowed to have new sages, new gurus that come and keep making it grow, and with direct experiences.
Yeah.
So if somebody loves India, this person is not a right-winged or left-winged. You know? Everybody has to love India. And my motherland is India. Like I say,
Wow.
like my motherland is India. I born in Brazil, but I grew up in Germany. I love those countries because they are both grew up, like, I have both passports.
Yeah.
But my spiritual motherland is definitely India. Everybody here has to see that in the Indian culture, Sanatana Dharma is not the culture of your grandmother. It's constantly new and it's constantly important. You know, because you see you do, I don't know, Go Puja. Oh my God, like they're doing like Cow Puja and it's like such a grandmother thing, you know? If you don't like it, don't do Cow Puja. Like in Sanatana Dharma, there's so many things you can do. You can even like follow Nyaya, and you can be atheist in Sanatana Dharma by following logic and Nyaya.
Wow.
You can. But still you're going to understand reincarnation and the process of the soul, and Sanatana Dharma is so big, you know? If people should go back and check what Ramanujacharya wrote, Madhavacharya wrote, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived in his life, and what Nimbarka, Vallabha, what Ramdas, what Ramananda did in his life, you know, like, so that's for the Indians, first of all. And then in general for the whole world, I think we conclude with what we were just talking before, like, you are not the mind. When you are way too happy, still observe your mind. When you are sad and depressed, observe your mind. You are not that mind. You know? You can fix almost all your life problems by controlling your mind. So the problem is not everything around you. The problem is how you understand your mind, and how is the relationship between you, your mind, and life. And the best way to deepen this is to deeply study the Bhagavad Gita.
I was going to ask, what could be the starting point?
I recommend to get Guruji's Bhagavad Gita. It's called Bhagavad Gita Essentials. It's a small book with a really nice short commentary. Because without a commentary, as I said in the beginning, it's hard. Mm-hmm. If you get this little book, it's hard that you have any further deep questions in life. You can have questions, shall I invest in this company or in that company? Okay, Bhagavad Gita is not going to tell you that. But every deep, serious questions will be answered by...
Or existential question.
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. How do I thank you for this?
You don't. Just say, you are in Vrindavan, just say Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Would you please sing something for us and our audience?
But my voice look, I'm a musician who hides behind the instrument. I'm not a singer. Mm-hmm. You might have heard me saying this in some podcast, no? I'm not a singer. I managed to sing because I'm smart. Because I'm smart with the instruments. I always hide behind the instrument, then I make it work. Yeah. I was not born with a good voice. It's really hard for me to sing. Yeah, really hard.
But I've heard you say in a podcast that if people use their vocal cords in due to some lack of training or whatever in a wrong way, and then once that is fixed, their vocal cords get
it's true.
They get better.
You get to a certain level, but still. Yeah. There is singers, they open their voice, everybody, oh my God, what a voice.
Yeah.
But that's not my way. My way is to understand the kirtan, understand the melody, understand the music, and then put the voice there and make it work.
Right.
I was just not born with that equipment.
Okay. Sure.
I can do something, but...
Please.
What? I don't know which one. Radha Guri, I have to give the credits to it. It's composed by Ramesh Baba from Barsana.
Oh.
He's now maybe 90 years old already.
Wow.
And he has the biggest Goshala of Raj.
Wow.
Yeah. He's a very sweet Baba. He composed Radha Guri and some other bhajans. He's a very sweet Baba. He Guruji visited him once or twice. I was there once with Guruji.
Mm.
The name of his ashram temple is Man Mandir.
Oh.
So since Radha Gauri became so famous, the video that he has singing Radha Gauri or had, I don't know, doesn't have many views.
Mm.
And then I added some little things. I did my own version of it.
Sure.
But I'm very happy that the credit comes out. I think it's written in the YouTube video as well. And so also when you go to Barsana,
We
visit
shall.
Man Mandir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for letting us know. Yeah.
Can I put some tampura? Just so I
Sure.
get the right pitch.
Sure.
So the melody starts in Ga. Sa-re-ga. Okay? It's like Radha Gauri Ora Shamarasiya Je Jodi Mere Man Basiya O Radha Gauri Radha Gauri Radha Gauri Radha Gauri O Radha Gauri Ora Shamarasiya Ye Jodi Mere Man Basiya Radha 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 Oh Radha, 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 Bolo Radha, Thakurani ki jai.
Jai. Thank you so much, Rishi ji, making time.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Jai
you.
Gurudev. Nice
Thank
conversation.
you. Jai Gurudev.
Haribol.